She's the best trader in the Senate.
Unbelievable trader.
In the world.
In the world.
All of our government officials, she's got the best inside information.
Warren Buffett, BlackRock, George Soros. It is time to step aside, because there's a new star in town. And it's our beloved, definitely not corrupt, Speaker of the House.
It gives me no pleasure to say this. It breaks my heart.
Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi, also known as history's greatest stock trader. In 2020, while the plebs were suffering, her and her husband made an insane $16.7 million on the money they invested, which means they made a return of more than 50%. Forget Bitcoin, Nancy needs to open up a hedge fund right now so I can dump all my money into it. Let's see how her 50% return compares to some of the most legendary investors. BlackRock, the company that owns the world, was only able to make a measly 13%. Ew. And Warren Buffett? Warren Buffett's company Berkshire Hathaway only went up by 2% in 2020. Pathetic. You see, one of the biggest perks of being a member of Congress is that you get to participate in legal, repeat after me, legal insider trading. That's why Nancy Pelosi was able to buy Tesla stock right before Joe Biden signed off on pro-EV laws. That's why she was able to buy options on 4,000 shares of Google right before the House Judiciary Committee voted on antitrust regulation, making her and her husband a cool $5 million on this trade alone. If we traded on insider information, the SEC would fine us up to $5 million as an individual or $25 million as a business entity, and then they would throw us in a prison filled with violent criminals for up to 2 decades. And that's not even close to all the trades Nancy has made. No. Right before Microsoft secured a $22 billion Army contract, her and her husband exercised $1.95 million worth of call options. In 2008, Visa offered Nancy Pelosi access to IPO stock right before the House had to decide on some legislation Visa opposed. So her husband bought 5,000 shares at $44 each, and 2 days later, the price skyrockets to $64. Her and her husband made $100,000 overnight. And the legislation? It was never even taken to the floor to vote. Nancy Pelosi has been a career politician since she was a kid with her dad. She never had a career outside of politics. She never started a business. She was never in a position to build real legitimate wealth. And yet somehow, her and her husband now have an estimated net worth of over $190 million. When her salary as a politician is only around $220,000 a year. When asked about banning insider trading for politicians, this is what she had to say.
Because this is a free market and people, we're a free market economy, they should be able to participate in that.
If you thought insider trading was bad on Wall Street, it's time to take a walk down Capitol Hill.
She's planning to retire to a community of people she's demonized. Like, if the boss of San Francisco is out of here, I'm definitely out of here.
And if you want a free stock, you can get a stock worth between $3 and $1,000 when you go to public.com/JakeTran with the link below and create an account. See, a lot of people are copying Nancy Pelosi's trades in hopes of getting returns as good as hers. But the problem is, she's only required to disclose her trades within 45 days of it happening. And a lot can happen in 45 days. You can miss out on the entire trade. On top of that, she's not the only one with a killer portfolio. That's where public.com comes in. Public is a social investing app that helps people become better investors. It allows you to see what other people are trading instantly, like a Twitter feed before investing. You can follow people like Graham Stephan, Shelby Church to see what they're investing in, and on Public, you can buy full shares or slices of stocks or ETFs, and you can buy more than 20 crypto assets from classes like Bitcoin to things like Doge. The app is completely free and there are no commissions on standard stock trades, and they don't sell your trades to market makers unlike other investment apps. So pause the video and go to public.com/JakeTran with the link below to get your free stock worth between $3 and $1,000 when you create an account. That's public.com/JakeTran with the link below. Thanks to Public for sponsoring this video. Insider trading is when someone has non-public inside information about a company and then uses that information to trade the company's stock. If you have a friend that works at the Ford Motor Company and he told you that the government was about to make Ford the only company allowed to sell in the US and no one in the public knew about it, you buying shares in Ford would count as insider trading. In most of the world, insider trading is illegal for obvious reasons. Even sweet old Martha Stewart went to jail for 5 months for insider trading that saved her from losing just $45,000. Not $1 million, just $45,000. And yet, politicians are making millions of dollars by trading on government secrets, and none of them are being investigated. And none of this was more blatant than right before the COVID crash in 2020. In the month leading up to February 20th, 2020, 4 US senators sold millions upon millions of shares in hotels and other major companies. 4 days later, the stock market crashed. Was it a coincidence? Were these 4 senators just extremely lucky? Or did the Senate COVID briefing that happened just a month before on January 24th give them an early warning that things were much worse than the public expected? The 4 senators, a mix of Republicans and Democrats, sold between $4.1 to $12.8 million worth of shares right before the market crashes, most likely based on information they got during their briefings. They knew hotels and the hospitality industry was gonna take a hit. They also knew the market in general was gonna nosedive, so they got out ahead in front of the cattle. And when they were questioned about this coincidence, well, they had equally frustrating answers. Senator Richard Burr said he only relied on CNBC news reports to make his trading decisions. Apparently, being briefed on COVID before the panic had nothing to do with him selling his stock in Wyndham Hotels. Senator Dianne Feinstein, who sold up to $5 million worth of stock in Allogene Therapeutics, said her husband was in charge of the investments, and she had no idea what he was doing. Sure. Senators Jim Inhofe and Kelly Loeffler were the 2 others that dumped their stock. They also apparently knew nothing about why they sold. They were just lucky. While Martha Stewart went to prison for 5 months because she saved a measly $45,000, these senators saved millions upon millions of dollars thanks to their alleged insider trading. An investigation was opened to look into them, but that investigation was dropped just 3 months after the crash. And if you think this was the first time politicians insider traded off of an impending crisis, you are sadly mistaken. Back in 2008, it was even more lawless.
Why do you feel so compelled to do this?
Harry, we had no choice.
If a politician buys stock in a company because it's about to get a big government contract, that's not technically seen as insider trading, because according to the law, no material corporate information is being shared. That's why leading up to the 2008 crash, Congress members met with the Treasury, got the inside scoop on the impending disaster to come, and 10 senators pulled their money out of the stock market, less than 2 weeks before the crash happened. The stock market crashes, and the plebs are left to fend for themselves. And during this time, there were not even any disclosure laws. These politicians did not even have to report that they made these trades. So if you now aspire to become a public servant to take advantage of this insider trading, you gotta learn how to do it while maintaining your pristine public image. And the way you do that is by offshoring your insider trading, a strategy that our Queen of Stocks Nancy Pelosi knows all too well.
Because this is a free market and people, we are a free market economy, they should be able to participate.
You see, even though this insider trading is technically legal, it doesn't look very good in the eyes of the public. That's why we need some plausible deniability. So instead of you doing the trades yourself as a public servant, get your spouse to do the trading on your behalf. Or even better yet, get your kids to do the trading on your behalf. Nancy doesn't do the trading herself, her husband does. And her husband's trades just happen to magically happen in lockstep with important congressional actions. What can I say, my husband just has the Midas touch. Spouses to politicians still have to legally disclose their trades, but it gives you a little cushion, a convenient excuse that you can tell the public. That's why when confronted with these hard questions regarding insider trading, this is what Nancy typically counters with. The speaker doesn't own any stocks. As you can see from the required disclosures, these transactions are marked SP for spouse. The speaker has no prior knowledge or subsequent involvement in any transactions. But the public wasn't satisfied with these legal excuses. So to appease the plebs, Congress passed the Stock Act in 2012. Because having the same people who write the laws punish and police themselves definitely works, right?
Mr. Cantor's remarks about the Stock Act and its importance, that we are here to do the people's business and not to benefit personally from it.
The Stock Act, known as the Stop Trading on Congressional Knowledge Act, was created to stop this insider trading on Capitol Hill and make it illegal. The act was passed in April 2012 when the plebs were all up in arms about this, but once they settled down and moved on to the next outrage just a year later, Congress made a very specific change. They loosened the Stock Act's disclosure requirements to make it incredibly difficult for the public to access their filings. And even if the public could get their hands on the information they needed, Congress members have 45 days after the trade to report it, meaning they have a massive window to profit before anyone finds out. And the Stock Act is enforced by the Department of Justice and the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC. And who funds both of these government agencies? Congress. No one bites the hand that feeds them. So it's not exactly surprising that the Stock Act is so selectively enforced. That's why I am proud to announce that I am now running for senator. Please donate to my campaign and I promise you that I will dedicate my existence to rooting out corruption and letting you know what stocks you should maybe buy or sell. A vote for Jake Tran is a vote for transparency. But in all seriousness, loopholes like these have led to the very lucrative profession of the career politician, where you go in broke, and if you know how to play the system, you can leave a multi-millionaire. You learned how to get rich as a politician with insider trading. Now it's time for a video to teach you about the controversial life of our friend, Jeffrey Epstein. The problem is, if I made a public video about him, it would probably get demonetized because of the nature of the subject matter. That's why this upcoming documentary will only be available to members of this channel. You won't be able to watch it anywhere else. And you can join by clicking the join button below or with the link below if you don't see the join button. That way, I can still teach you guys about these juicy topics about how the world really works that they will never teach you in business school while not getting cancelled or demonetized. This upcoming documentary will be released near the end of the month or early next month, along with a new private documentary coming out every single month. And unlike business school, it's only $5 a month to join. And if you join and don't think it's worth it, I will personally refund you the money if you email me. So click the join button below to join now, or you can click this link to preview the other documentaries that are already out by the time you're watching this video.